Let's bring in our fair and balanced post-debate GOP strategist Sean Noble and radio host Garland Nixon. Thank you both for joining us this Saturday. I appreciate it.
Good to be here.
Sean, I want to start with you. I want to take a macro view before we start to focus on some of the candidates who you thought performed really, really well. In your opinion, do you think that the candidates appear to strategically either take more of a moderate stance or more of an aggressive stance, more of a radical stance? Did you see that across the board?
There was definitely some of those candidates that did specific things. The interesting thing about this debate was that it's really served a purpose for Republican primary voters. I think the toughness of the questions coming from the moderators was actually very good for these guys to be prepared as they go forward into the campaign. It probably took them back a little bit. I think there was a little bit of shell shock you could sense from all of them at how tough the questions are coming right out of the box. But I think that served a very good purpose because these guys are going to be up against a tough media. They're going to be up against a tough candidate in the general. And so the more tough questions they have to deal with now and be prepared, the better they are. I think there was definitely a strategic decision by Rand Paul to try to get very aggressive to stand out. I think there was a strategic decision by Jeb Bush to stay back a little bit.
Successful though? What do you think about that, Garland?
I don't think either Rand Paul or Jeb Bush were completely successful in that. Rand probably got the better of Chris Christie. Chris Christie, interestingly, Trump makes Chris Christie look less bullyish.
Right.
The clear winner of the debate, I think, because of the toughness of the questions and how well he did in answering them and articulating a vision was Marco Rubio.
Okay, I want to bring you and Garland because there's a couple issues. I want to ask you, do you think that what could be a strategy perhaps by Jeb Bush to appear more calm, more of a moderate candidate, did that work to his advantage? I also want to hear your reaction to Marco Rubio.
A couple of things. I think number one, this was a very important debate and much more so than usual, because normally when you have an intra-party debate, only the Republicans or the Democrats, whichever party has the debate, is going to watch it. However, because of the numbers, there were people watching it. The independents were watching, the Democrat, the people. So this is going to be critical down the line. I think we'll look back at this debate at whoever the eventual nominee is, and we'll see some kind of something that came from this that I think we'll talk about. I think Jeb Bush, the only real problem I saw that Jeb Bush had was Trump hit him kind of hard and really associated him with a problem in his brother's administration, and that's what he's trying to get away from.
And you did hear him say, in Florida they call me Jeb.
Yeah.
That's sort of a line that came away with. So we understand that. And I want to switch gears because I know, Sean, you had said you brought up Rand Paul. He did sort of come out fairly aggressive, right? Inserted himself in a question that wasn't addressed to him. That rubbed you the wrong way.
Well, I don't know that it rubbed me the wrong way. I think he actually did a pretty good job when he hit Trump early on. I think that his aggressiveness had him stand out. But then he stayed kind of a little bit over-aggressive, and the back and forth between Christie, I think, was a wash. I don't think it really did him much good, other than people thought, well, he's kind of angry. I mean, I think he didn't present the thoughtful, soft-spoken Rand Paul that a lot of people like. And so the debate stage, I think you're right. I think this is going to be a very important debate. This was the most watched primary debate ever.
24 million people.
I mean, pretty remarkable. I think we'll probably see an ebb and flow of that depending on what's happening in the world and the news of the day as each of these debates go on. What people need to realize, though, is that there's been a pent-up demand. I mean, by this time 4 years ago, we had already had a number of debates, and there was a lot of ebb and flow in the polling. In fact, one of the interesting things I was looking at yesterday was in 2011, in April of 2011, there was a poll put out that had Trump at 26%. This is, before he even decided. So the fact that he's up in the polls, he's a flash in the pan
so you
and
say he's a flash
distraction.
I think Rand Paul's big mistake, the big problem he had was, I think he came across a bit too much as an activist as opposed to a leader. People want a fairly cool, calm person to be the leader of the country, and he came across as an activist that was maybe somewhat hyper-focused on NSA spying, etc.
Okay, I want to switch to someone who did appear fairly calm and fairly cool, and that was John Kasich. And we heard from Rich Lowry earlier in the show, and he said, listen, John Kasich is going to be a huge threat to Jeb Bush. I was surprised by that comment. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think Kasich came across as the gentlemanly politician. He came across, some people say grandfatherly. I think he came across very much as the adult in the room, while other people, there was a kind of a bar fight between Rand Paul and Chris Christie, and he was the gentleman.
Did that work in his favor?
I don't know. I mean, the problem with Kasich is that his policies are just not aligned with the base of the party. I mean, his doubling down on Medicaid expansion, Obamacare, that's just going to hurt him. I mean, he may, ebb up in the polls a little bit. I don't think this debate is going to actually have much of an impact, other than to point out to the base that, yeah, he's still for Medicaid expansion, and that's not a good thing.
Right. So perhaps not the silent
I
behind.
disagree with Rich on his assessment. I don't think that he's that much of a threat to Jeb because he's just not going to have the money to be a serious contender.
All right, great. Sean Garland, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us. Really interesting
for having
conversation.
us.
Thanks so much.